Real quick, if you're going to talk to somebody about watching this movie, what would you tell them? Nate, go first.
Uh, as I did to both of you, just go watch this movie. It's one of my favorite movies. It's like the same excitement level as Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's maybe a little less accessible and honestly probably not quite as incredible as Everything Everywhere, but it is really incredible like for what it is. As we were discussing, definitely inspired Inception.
Oh, yeah.
If you love the trippiness of Inception, this is the original concept, and the animation lets it push so much further. It's broken my mind multiple times watching it at various levels of sobriety. But last night I watched it sober, and it's still mind bending.
Yeah. It's a movie where dreams and reality are questioned throughout the whole thing. And it's also kind of a detective heist story and like coming of age ish dealing with anxiety and PTSD story. It's
dealing with repressed emotions.
Yeah, and like how do we treat dreams, and how do we like are we listening to ourselves enough to really know what's going on? It's interesting. Jake, what would you tell people that are asking if they should see this movie or not, other than go watch it, I assume?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, the fact that it's clearly the spiritual precursor to Inception. It's I don't know. It's just I have no negative notes about this movie. It's just it kept me guessing the entire time. Visually, it was a masterpiece. And
I can't wait to talk about some of the visual stuff in this.
Yeah,
cool.
Like unique for anime in particular, and also yeah.
And then I cannot think of the last movie that I saw where I was like, I need to rewatch this.
Yeah.
I need, because like even just thinking back on, because as you're watching the movie, you'll start to come across scenes and you're like, oh my god, this is the callback to this, or this is and that's just every scene.
Mm-hmm.
Every scene is just masterfully like layered.
Yeah.
Yeah, and foreshadowed. Like Ben, you've watched it twice. Like immediately you start, as soon as you know what's coming next, you start seeing it coming from about 5 minutes away, and they start. I love that every single one they start slowly building, and it just gets weirder and weirder, and it builds and builds, and the music builds with it, and then we get a reset, but you're still not sure if you're really at base level, and then it starts building in weirdness again. And that's just the entire movie is ratcheting up this surreal feeling, this questioning reality. And yeah, not even knowing if you're in the dream world still.
Yeah. It's one of the most original movies I've seen, even though I've seen Inception. Like, it feels more original than that. Not just because it came before it, but I think even if this came out after, I would still feel that way. I think it's, you guys, when you recommended Jake Record of Ragnarok, Nate was like, anime just kind of dumps you into stuff and expects you to like figure it out. And I felt that during this movie, and I appreciated it, to be honest. Like, Inception kind of holds your hand for like an hour of exposition, whereas this just cut that. It cut all the fat. It's just going to throw you in, and you got to kind of figure it out. It gives you little clues and stuff, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you got to rewatch it to process it. And yeah, that's why I'd say like it's less accessible. Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't recommend this to my mom. But like it's worth it, and it is a little rough the first time, and I understand like Inception doing that for, this couldn't be like a national release that makes $1 million.
Right.
I think it's seen theater release since, but it had to build that slowly. It's not, for everyone, but it's worth it if you're willing to slog through it, and not slog through it, but like get through it the first time and just roll with it, and just enjoy the ride the first time, and then go back a second time and watch it to analyze it.
Yeah. I think if
know what's going on.
If you go in with the mindset of like, I'm just going to go with this and I'm going to accept whatever's thrown at me, you're going to enjoy the shit out of this movie.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing where, I'd caution people who are going to watch it, which everyone listening, if you haven't seen it, turn this off and go watch it. Your first time through, like, just accept that you're going to be very confused at times.
Even though, like, 'cause, the only criticism I could level, because I have to be fair, because I complain about like incredibly dense exposition, is like this movie. It doesn't hold your hand. It rolls through it really fast. But a lot of the non-dream, non-action scenes are just scientists explaining in dry, like explaining the technology, just literally explaining to each other what the technology is and how it works, so that you can try to keep up.
Yeah.
But
fair.
you can't even follow it the first time. You're just like, okay, what? Oh, okay, where are we now? Like,
I will say
the first scene of explaining and arguing about the plot of like whether the technology is okay or not is cut short by insanity.
Yeah, when I got to that scene and the thing happens where insanity starts, I thought the subtitles were going on like wrong. I was like, what the fuck is this? This sucks.
With subtitles.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this sucks. And then it made sense. So yeah, that's I think the end of our spoiler-free review. Unless anybody else has something to add, we will get into spoilers.
If you're listening to this podcast,
turn it off. Go watch it.
Caution that if you rent it on YouTube, make sure it's the English version.